Welcome to the Bull and Bear Show, episode number 19, and I'm here with two guests so far. How you gentlemen doing today? We got Nash Cowboy and King Earl. How you gentlemen doing?
Doing pretty well,
Hey, excited to have you guys on the show. Thank you guys for joining me here on a Sunday. Not a normal time, a little bit of a different time and a little bit of a different day. So I really appreciate you guys being here. And this is our 19th episode of the Bull and Bear Show. And we're really excited. We are broadcasting live on all devices, on all platforms. We may have some other guests join us as well. And if you guys are running a little bit late, feel free to join us. You guys, I'm sure, have the link. And we've got a big show because we've got a lot of important discussions and topics. So let's get through our very first topic right here and right now. And it is the government shutdown. So this is a huge topic. It's something that we talked about all week. I know that I have an opinion on it. I'd love to get your guys' opinion on it. So we'll get started with you, Nash Cowboy. What do you think about this news? U.S. government shutdown averted with little time to spare as Biden signs funding before midnight. What do you think about this news?
I was trying to research that topic, and the only thing I could find was that it was only for averted for 45 days. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so basically, I think it's just a little smoke and mirrors trying to get what each side wants. But all in all, it's 45 days. That goes by in the blink of an eye, and they're gonna have to figure something out. I think it's just trying to buy both sides a little bit of time. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't think it accomplished anything. They need, all in all, they need to defund Ukraine. And that's just all there is to it. As a nation, our nation, your nation, every nation cannot afford to keep funding Ukraine. And everybody's just trying to buy a little time with what they want out of the deal. In my opinion, everything should be separate anyway. Every single little thing that goes into a bill needs to be separated and voted on. I'm kind of tired of the way they do things, and they class a bunch of things in together. And this side wants to put this in there, this side wants to put that in there, and things would go much smoother if everything was completely separate.
Okay. And we're going to talk about some of those things you talked about later in the show. So some great answers there. King Earl, what do you think about this government shutdown?
I think it's a bunch of baloney because he started screaming at Trump whenever he used government shutdowns as a tool to get past what he wanted. And he said he'd never do it or threaten it. And then you always notice that he's hush hush and he just lets the Senate take care of all of his stuff, and then the Congress as well. And the Justice Department's pretty much out of all decisions and everything, so he doesn't get his hands dirty and shine light politically bad for him. But, I mean, we're looking at the fact that it's 45 days. It's going to be a blink of an eye, like Nash said. I mean, that's going to line us directly up for November 15th, just in time for the holidays, which will be the next big caboodle of them saying, "Oh, don't shut it down because of the holidays," and everybody's going to need money for the holidays. And it's just leading us into another 45-day extension right before a potential recession for 2024 at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, nothing we can do about it, but suck it up and move on, and hopefully they don't pass a bunch of agenda crap in their bills in the meantime.
Yeah, it's funny. We've talked about this in our group chat a lot, and I know some people thought that there would be a shutdown, and I said from the beginning there will be no shutdown. I was 100% correct. I said this is all for just selling newspapers, getting ratings, getting attention. It's a big show. But why would they allow the government to shut down when all they're doing is printing paper? We've seen this over and over and over again. They always go down to the last hour. They always make a big deal out of it. They always make a big spectacle out of it, and they never shut down. Why were they going to shut down this time? Right before an election? That doesn't make any sense. So I never thought for a second that they were going to shut down. And I don't believe in 45 days they will shut down. But this is just another one of those spectacles that now we can talk about for the next 45 days. Because, like I said, it sells newspapers, gives us something to talk about. It gives Biden a chance to be a hero in the last hour, like he was this time. And to be honest with you, it's getting a little bit old. We already know what they're going to do. We knew that what they were going to do again. They did it again. And now, the second they get the deal, they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, but we could have another one in 45 days. Well, yeah, we know because you don't have any money. And every 45 days or 30 days or 60 days, you need to print more money. And while this is happening, Zelensky's asking for another 24 billion. Biden never seems to have any problem coming up with that money, but he always seems to have problems coming up with money to keep the government alive and open. It doesn't add up to me. It doesn't make any sense. It's all just, in my opinion, a big spectacle. And it's a little bit sad that there's people out there that actually believe in these politicians, that they listen to these politicians, they believe these politicians. I'm pretty much fed up with these politicians. I'm pretty much disgusted, and I'm tired of the games and the antics. And we're going to get into what's going on in some of the politicians and the games that happened even here in Canada that made worldwide news for the wrong reasons. And we'll get into that shortly. But yeah, government shutdown. Never for a second did I think they were ever going to shut down. And I never feel like they will ever shut down. Do you guys honestly ever think there will be a government shutdown?
I don't know. I think there could be. Um, I don't know. We're seeing things we've never seen before with our country, so there's no telling what the future brings, in my opinion.
What do you think, Earl? You think there would honestly ever be a shutdown?
I mean, we've already had one in the past. But I mean, all you're looking at is a stoppage of checks, stoppage of benefits coming, closure of federal parks, and then any federal building for court cases. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's just cost the government less money. And sometimes we need that. And I think it'd be, great to have a year off. I mean, go ahead and give them a good little vacation, and we'll see from there. Maybe by the time they come back, they'll be more rested and relaxed, and get done burning some more fossil fuels into their nose so they can get back onto the Green New Deal.
It's a crazy time right now, and it just seems like it's just getting crazier and crazier and crazier. News is definitely flowing for many different reasons, more bad than good. So let's get into the next topic here. The next topic, the S&P 500 dipped after U.S. inflation data was weaker than expected, ending the third quarter in weak way. So U.S. inflation data, S&P 500 dips after ending the weak third quarter. So very bad third quarter in the markets overall. What do you guys think this means for investors? Was that a blip in the radar? Are we going to continue to see weak third quarters? Is the market going to stay weak? Do you think that things get better? Where do you think we go from here, Nash Cowboy?
Well, I think it comes to the US dollar. Throughout time, if you see the dollar strengthening, you see stocks and crypto tend to go down. Not always, but usually. You take 2022, for instance, the S&P reported their worst year since 2008, and the dollar was at its height. So when the dollar is strengthening, things tend to go down because it costs investors more to do such. So as long as our dollar's strengthening, and that happens because of interest rates and all kinds of factors, then the payouts on bonds, all that stuff factors in, and so I have a feeling the stock market's going to continue to go down as the dollar strengthening, but I expect our dollar to weaken soon. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, good answers. And King Earl, what do you think? Where do we go from here after a tough quarter?
Is that a global quarter or is that a just U.S. quarter?
Just U.S. quarter.
Well, on the U.S. quarter, we're going to have to tighten down trading, choose our partners a little bit better. We're going to have to work on imports. We're going to have to work on fossil fuel situations. We're going to have to work on impending debt, looming recession, government shutdowns, being overutilized by government funding to Ukraine for a stalemate situation rather than winning or putting an end to a war. Well, we have several stocks that are continuing to crash, especially as Europe continues to go down. Germany serving a prime example of what we're going to be facing here and where we're going to be looking for the U.S. economy. We have new presidential elections coming up around the globe that we got to pay attention to, but potentially there might be some market pumps due to those. I saw something about France stormed the building of NVIDIA. So there's several things that was in the news this week and will continue to be in the news, so we can see where they actually go from here and what funding actually moves. But we have to hit. I mean, we've been in an inflation. Dum-dums have done nothing but raise interest rates. It's time for the recession to hit. It's time to pull off the Band-Aid, quit dealing with the soft landing, quit raising interest rates where you're just paying out $1 trillion monthly, to pay debt for your APR or yearly. So, quit putting us further in debt before we can get back on our feet. But I'm just waiting on the recession, bro. Just wait.
Yeah, I think the recession's already here. I mean, here in Canada, we're having a major housing bubble. The only people that don't want to see it are the real estate agents, because obviously that's going to affect their pocketbook. And they're just pure evil because they want to continue to see prices go up that people can't afford, which makes no sense to me. But we are in a major housing bubble in Canada. The worst I've ever seen. I'm a real estate guy. I don't own any real estate in Canada. I can't even imagine buying anything in Vancouver. The average home is $2.4 million. That is not sustainable. The average home in Toronto is well over $1.5 million. That's not sustainable. We are in a major housing bubble. The reality is, if you were paying a mortgage a year ago, for that same mortgage, you're paying double. That's a problem. The reality is a lot of people that are paying a mortgage haven't actually had to pay more because they're locked into rates. But a lot of those mortgages are coming due in the next 1 or 2 years. So once those locked in closed mortgages come due in the next 1 or 2 years, those people are either going to have to sell their homes. They're either going to have to sell their homes, or they're going to have to pay double or more on their mortgage. That's going to create a massive housing crisis. The reality is, even if you sell your home, you're going to have to buy a home somewhere else, and people can't afford to buy. So this is going to eventually come to a head. There's a lot of people concerned. I'm one of them. It's one of the reasons why I got my Portuguese passport, and I'm looking elsewhere to buy real estate, because it doesn't make sense to buy real estate in my backyard anymore here in Vancouver, where, like I said, the average home is $2.4 million. I'm talking about for like a 2,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with almost no backyard. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. So this bubble will burst, whether the real estate agents want to admit it or not. It's going to burst, and it's going to burst in a really bad way. And the market is going to crash, and it's going to crumble, and people are going to suffer. So I know some people feel like the recession's coming. I feel like it's already here. When the gas prices are going up nonstop, and we've got record gas prices here in Canada as well. when the food prices are going up nonstop, when the real estate is going up nonstop. To me, that's a recession. People are not making more. And on top of that, the price that businesses have to pay for their workers has gone up. So most small businesses can't even afford to employ workers because minimum wage is like 20, 25 bucks an hour now here in Canada. So it's not adding up. Small businesses can't employ workers. People can't afford to pay for homes. People can't rent homes. They can't buy homes. People can't afford food. People can't afford gas. We're in a recession.
I don't think
We're
so.
ready.
I think that's more of inflation settings though. So that's the top of the hyperinflation economy. And that's not even the recession yet, because what you have to look at is you have to wait on all these bankruptcies, right? You're looking at banks that have been doing nothing but taking out money and taking out money and taking out money and have no liquidity on hand. You have all these large investors who the greatest investment point for across the entire board was commercial real estate, right? You have 40% of San Francisco sitting with vacant commercial lots, right? And larger numbers than that across the entire US. So what you're looking at is everybody who's working from home is no longer working in these buildings. The banks are not going to get paid on that money. Investors will not be investing their money into commercial real estate because it's been going down. Once that hits the banks books, how much money they've lost, that's when the recession is going to hit. When this housing bubble actually finally pops, that's when the recession is finally going to hit. Because what we've been looking at is they've been jacking up the rates, jacking up the rates. Most people, when they buy houses, they look at the fact of what is their monthly payment, not what the total payment is, right? What can I afford on a monthly basis? And if most of it is interest, that's going to drive down the price range of all these houses, and that'll be the end of the crisis of the housing crisis with the raising prices. But the thing is as they continue to raise interest rates, and I've said it several times, it's $1 trillion yearly right now, off $33 trillion in debt, right, that they're paying. We're looking at the fact of 7% almost, well, 5.5 currently, 5.75 currently on the interest rates. There is more money to be made in investing into U.S. stock bonds right now for large investors, for your money not to lose its current value with a 7% inflation every year by investing into U.S. bonds than there is investing into commercial real estate. And U.S. bonds are guaranteed paychecks. That's when the recession is going to hit, because they're going to pull all the money from it. They're not going to invest it into the U.S. dollar, like whenever the housing crisis or the market crash happened 2 weeks ago, when the EU started to go down and everybody pulled their money directly out of stocks, crashed them, and then they put it directly into the U.S. dollar. So the U.S. dollar had a big booming surge. They're going to do something with that money, and they're going to send it into marketing accounts and directly invest into security bonds, because they're going to get a guaranteed paycheck of at least 7% from the U.S. government, and their money is not going to lose its value like it would in the current market. I mean, you're only looking at a 6% increase by investing into the S&P 500. I mean, they're going to invest their money, and it's going to go somewhere where it's going to be guaranteed sure, and the Federal Reserve hasn't even noticed it yet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can see that happening. Now, I want to talk about something that's really, really, really disturbing. This is headline news across Canada, headline news across the world, and I'm really, really disgusted by it. So I have to talk about it. So what happened here in Canada, which is kind of embarrassing, but I mean, Justin Trudeau is an embarrassing prime minister for many reasons. Justin Trudeau apologizes. I'm shocked he even apologized after the Canadian Parliament gave a Nazi veteran, Yaroslav Hunka, a standing ovation. Now, this was days before Yom Kippur, which is the largest Jewish holiday of the year. What do you guys think about this? This made headline news. This is quite embarrassing for Canadians. This is embarrassing for anybody that saw it or heard about it. This is very painful for Jewish people, anyone that's been touched by the war, anyone that had been a victim of Nazi hate. What do you think about this, Nash Cowboy? I find it unacceptable. I feel like Trudeau should have resigned or been relieved of his duties that moment. And it's disgusting that, once again, in Canada, we do nothing about it. What do you think about this, Nash Cowboy, when you hear about this?
Well, let's face the facts. The Ukrainian parliament over there is pretty much all like literal Nazis. I'm not saying I'm not saying Putin's a good guy, but he's constantly saying that he's trying to denazify Ukraine, and I can't say that he's not. So Zelensky and Trudeau give him a standing ovation, and it's no surprise to me. In my opinion, we are funding Nazis. When we send Ukraine money, we're funding Nazis, and both governments' pockets. I think that all kinds of things happen there. So it's disgusting. I could only imagine how disgusted the Jewish population is, and I'm disgusted for Canada. Man, it's a sad day when somebody does that.
I agree 1,000%. King Earl, what's your opinion on this embarrassment once again by our tyrannical government and Justin Trudeau?
It's one of those things, you don't validate your people that you're putting in front of your freaking prime minister. How does a man even shake Justin Trudeau's hand? Is it that simple? Can the Chinese do that just to whack off Justin Trudeau?
Zelensky was with him, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this is Zelensky's guy. This is Zelensky's guy, and we're parading Zelensky into Canada and the United States and treating him like a hero, and then Zelensky sets us up like this while asking for billions of dollars of aid. I mean, if that doesn't tell you who Zelensky is, then we must all be very stupid.
Here you have a guy that's supposed to be a Jew, but his whole parliament's filled with Nazis, and that's one of his heroes. It's disgusting and disturbing. I don't know. I don't even know what to say to that.
So what y'all's next trade deal with Venezuela?
All I can say is there's so much anger in Canada right now about this. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. And yet, last week, after this hideous display of supporting Nazis who Canadians fought and lost lives in World War II fighting, they gave a standing ovation to this guy, and Zelensky gave Zelensky a hero's welcome, while Zelensky talks about the fact that he needs more billions in funding. And Trudeau stood up there and said that we Canadians will fight until Ukraine wins this war. In addition to that, the House Speaker got terminated because they had to give somebody their walking papers. For whatever reason, they never want to ever get rid of Trudeau. They never want to make him the fall guy for anything. And I just find it so disheartening that he's gutted our country, that he's embarrassed us again globally, that he hurt so many Jewish people, and that the day that this happened and the week after this happened, all of last week, he never showed his face in Parliament. This coward Trudeau never showed his face in Parliament all of last week to explain what happened. didn't even show up. He's a coward. He's an embarrassment. And something in Canada has to happen because he is destroying our country. And there's a reason why I have a Portuguese passport and I'm ready to leave and never come back. And it's not because I'm not a proud Canadian, but I'm ashamed of our prime minister. I'm ashamed of everything he stands for. I'm ashamed of everything he believes in. And I'm ashamed of everything that he does. And this is just another example of the disgrace that he has and the stain that he has put on our country. It's unacceptable to make these kinds of errors. Anybody else would have already been terminated. But for whatever reason, this guy has the ability to walk on water and do whatever he chooses without any recourse. And after he makes a horrible decision that affected millions of people over the world, he doesn't even have the courtesy to show up to work. And nobody even bats an eye.
Yeah, because instead he'd rather be behind the scenes passing more tyrannical policies, as what I just sent to the group chat before this started. You know, it's crazy how much he's trying to censor and silence y'all and the media, and he's turning it directly into the perfect grounds for communism to build and grow. I mean, he's pretty much turning Canada into communism by the end of what he does. I mean, because those are the policies he's passing, plain and simple. And you know, it's heartbreaking to see, you know, that the only progressivism that any country can pass is directly into the fascism and socialistic policies that they idolize and say that the other side is, when they're the ones pushing directly for those policies to affect our country.
Yeah, it's a really touchy thing for me. I'm really, really bothered by it. I've already been fed up with Trudeau for a long time. There's a reason why I went and got my dual citizenship and got my second passport. It sucks that us Canadians have to leave because he's destroying this country so much. And it seems almost as if there's nothing we can do at this point. He continues to embarrass us. He continues to put us in a corner, and yet he's allowed to not show up for work, even though he's making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars off of us. And yet we have to continue to work in his country and pay extreme taxes, pay more for food, more for gas, more for housing. He has no solution for any of it. And yet anytime he goes on vacation, he's spending thousands of taxpayers' dollars and then can't even explain where that money's going either. So it's just extremely disturbing right now as a Canadian. And I'm going to continue to say what's on my mind until he stops me. Let's just put it like that. Maybe one day I'll have to run for prime minister because somebody has to stand up against this tyrannical government. And I'm getting sick of it. I'm disgusted and I'm sick of it. And I'm sick of Canada, which is supposed to be this peaceful country, starting to become essentially a country that wants to go to war, thanks to Trudeau, who's hammering his fist and saying that we will fight with Putin and we will fight and stand with Ukraine until Ukraine wins the war. Those are fighting words. We're supposed to be a peaceful country, but we are no longer a peaceful country because he is no longer acting peacefully. Now let's speak on this more because you guys are in America and there's some ridiculous things going on in America too. Let's talk about this $113 million in aid that's gone to the
billion.
Sorry, $113 billion that the United States has invested into the Ukraine. This guy right here, Biden, him in Ukraine, him and Zelensky getting very, very rich while they continue to send money. And now Zelensky wants another $24 billion from America. That's $137 billion that he wants America to send of which America's already sent 113 billion, 10 times more than anybody else. What's going on here, guys? Something's not adding up here. I need to know from you guys, like, what is going on? Nash Cowboy, what's happening here?
Well,
Biden's getting rich, Zelensky's getting rich, Trudeau's getting rich, all the people in Canada and the United States are getting poor. What's going on?
the question is, where is it? Like, they can't even answer where most of the money is. Like, it's insane. I personally think they're all just laundering taxpayer dollars back and forth. That's what it comes down to for me is, like, show me where it's at. I don't even support the war to begin with. It's insane the amount of debt we've got into over this, and I don't even know a solution to it besides a revolution, to be honest.
I mean, Trump said that he could end this war in 24 hours. I say, let's get rid of Biden. He's
And I
useless
think he would.
anyways. Let's put in Trump. Let's end this war, and everybody goes back to normal. America no longer has to send 20 billion at a time to the Ukraine. Canada doesn't
have
continue
to.
to send all of our tanks, all of our weapons, all of our ammunition, and have our prime minister constantly starting fights in war with Putin. Let's end this.
I honestly think Trump would end it. Maybe not 24 hours, but pretty damn quick. I'd give him a week; it'd be done.
What do you think about this, man? Like this is. I know you're not happy about this 113 billion. You're paying tax money. What do you think's going on here, man? Something's not right.
I'm not worried about the $113 billion or the $137 billion or where it's at. I'm worried about where's it coming from. Where's this funding coming from? Is it coming from us raising the debt ceiling? Is that what keeps driving us in? They're borrowing more money? Or are they using it from some side government operation? So where's the money coming from? Number one. I don't care where it's went. Where's it coming from? Right? I mean, that's key number one. Which pocketbook is it coming from? It's all coming from taxpayers. We know that. But in what aspect? Are you borrowing it from the defense budget? Are you borrowing it from, let's say, Black Ops organization groups? Are you borrowing it from BlackRock, who's trying to buy Ukraine and the rest of the global world, along with Canada, who's being funded by BlackRock for all y'all's inflation? Where's the money coming from?
The United States has sent more money to the Ukraine than anybody else. Nobody's even close. Germany has sent 20 billion, United Kingdom 7 billion, Norway 7 billion, 4 billion, Denmark 4 billion, Poland 3 billion, Netherlands 3 billion, Sweden 1.9 billion, France 1.7 billion. The United States has sent more money than anybody else. Today, I was listening to a breakdown of where the money's going. It's not even all going to the war. Some of the money is going to livestock. Some of the money is going to seeds. Some of the money is going to military. I mean, money's just going all over the place. Like, it's going all over the place.
It's paying people's pensions.
You have to assume that some of it's going into Zelensky's pocket. You have to assume it somehow is getting into Biden's pocket. You have to assume some of it's getting back into Trudeau's pocket, because Trudeau, who only makes $400,000 a year as the prime minister, somehow was worth 10 million as the prime minister 8 years ago. Now he's worth over 400 million. How does that happen? Biden's getting rich. How does that happen? Zelensky's getting rich. How does that? I mean, there's all these questions. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we're the ones paying for it. We're the ones paying for it. All of this corruption is happening, and we're the ones paying for it. So it's pretty gross. It's pretty disgusting. And Kevin McCarthy actually wants to know. Kevin McCarthy vows to grill Zelensky, saying, I have questions for him amid GOP's open warfare on Biden's 24 billion aid package as Ukrainian president prepares to visit the capital. So what do you think, Nash Cowboy, is going to happen when McCarthy grills Zelensky on the 24 billion? You think Zelensky's going to be like, well, it's going to the war?
Yeah, I'm sure there's
Right?
going to be a lot of, circle backing and be like, oh, well, there's war going on. They want to, just like the Speaker of the White House right now, she always circling around. You ask her one question and she answers a completely different topic. I don't think things will ever be answered. We know what's happening. They're embezzling money, our tax dollars. They're laundering it through other countries back and forth. And somehow, some way, it's got to be stopped. It's complete tyranny. That's money. This war comes down to the dollar. Who can line the most pockets? That's just facts.
100%. 100%. And right now, Zelensky seems to be, even though he's supposed to be losing because he's apparently at war, but is he at war? He's being paraded in Canada. He's being paraded in America, collecting money, the greatest philanthropist in the planet, raising more money for his country than anyone else on the planet, but he's not even there.
Yeah.
He's not fighting in the front lines, clearly.
There was a picture come out that, back when all this first started, that said he was like helping in the war. Like they showed a picture of him in like a little foxhole holding a gun. And then somebody got the brilliant idea to zoom in on that picture. And it wasn't even a real gun. It was an airsoft rifle. So like,
Exactly.
It's crazy.
So we know that he's not fighting.
Yeah.
His job is to raise money, and he's doing a very good job of it. And he brought a neo-Nazi to Canada so that we could embarrass ourselves and give the neo-Nazi a standing ovation. And we fell for it while asking us for billions of dollars, and we're falling for that too. And he's getting Biden to fall for the same thing, and Biden's falling for it too. So what's in it for Biden and Trudeau? That's my question. There's got to be something in it for Biden and Trudeau, right?
We the people aren't falling for it. Some of us are idiots.
Well,
but
I'm not saying we are. None of us are. But I've had people argue with me how much of a great prime minister Trudeau is and how much a hero Zelensky is. I've had people argue this with me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So there are people falling for it. Believe me.
Oh yeah, there
are people falling for it.
The whole thing is crazy.
It's crazy, but there are. King Earl, what do you think? What's going on here?
I still think BlackRock's just buying all of Ukraine, access to Russia's pipelines. It's all going to come to an end whenever the recession does finally hit. Winter's going to hit. All of the cut off fuel from Russia is going to finally kick in, and oil is going to hit $150 a barrel, and we'll be looking at over $10 at the pump, and they're going to blame it on a soft landing, or they're going to blame their whole recession off on Russia.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Now, you actually touched on my next topic. You touched on oil. So I want to talk about oil because oil is what this is all about too. It's all about oil, right? Saudi Arabia and Russia have been cutting production, and the price of oil has jumped 28% in the last quarter. 28%. We're seeing it here in Canada. We are having record prices at the pumps, and yet our tyrannical prime minister keeps raising rates for Canadians for gas. Clearly, he's out of touch. He keeps raising the rates at the pump, despite the fact that oil is at over $90 a barrel. So my question to you guys is, oil, 28% up in the last quarter. Does it continue going up? And will it hit $100 a barrel in Q4? I say it does. What do you think, Nash Cowboy?
Yeah, I say it's going to continue to go up, and let's face facts there. Oil is only a tight commodity if they want it to be a tight commodity. Oil is the second most abundant liquid on the planet next to water. They would like you to believe that it's just disappearing, but it's constantly renewing its sources through dead everything. Uh, it's not near as scarce as they say it is, and it only costs what they want it to cost. We have the power, especially here in America, to lower the prices by drilling, and producing, just produce more. We have tons and tons and tons of oil. So it's only tight if they want it to be tight. That's the facts.
I agree with you 100%. And King Earl, what do you think about this? We're going to see $100 oil?
Oh yeah, winter's coming, baby. And this ain't the house of the dragon. This is the United States. So something's got to change. You know, it's going to be crazy because most of Europe is going to be facing these impending issues. You got Germany who tried to go all green. They finally figured out that they went from one of the major economies in the world to one of the worst economies in the one of the worst major economies in the global market space because they tried to pass this Green New Deal bullshit that the Democrats keep trying to push here. And they finally figured it out. Fuel is essential. We have to use oil, right? Now, how long until the U.S. figures that out? We got to wait on Trump. I mean, that's what it is. We have to go through the recession, wait on Trump, wait till he gets in. It'd be a whole nother winter, and hopefully we're not sitting on our asses in breadline.
I agree with you.
If it happens, I'm gonna be sitting on my ass in a tree stand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, so we're running out of time here. I don't want to take too much more of your time. I know you guys are busy. I am as well. There's a lot going on. This is my last topic I want to talk about, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price history. So historically, Bitcoin always has a very, very, very hot October. And here we are today, October 1st, and Bitcoin's up. And I'm showing you guys the chart right now, but historically, after a down year, Bitcoin always jumps. And last year we had a down year where Bitcoin went down 64%. And so far, Bitcoin this year is up over 60%. So my question to you guys is, where does Bitcoin go from here? Nash Cowboy, what do you think?
All right. I personally expect Bitcoin to pop up like a man looking at a girl in Daisy Dukes and cowboy hat and, a pair of shit kickers. Yeah, I believe it's gonna pop up at least 16%. This is an accumulation year. The last accumulation year, October, it jumped about 16%, if my math's correct, which would bring Bitcoin to somewhere around 31,000, 32,000-ish by the end of the month. That's where I'm expecting it to be at. Could be wrong, Bitcoin's all cryptocurrency is volatile. So anything could happen. We got a lot going on in the world, so it could change some things. But historically, I think we're looking somewhere around a 16% raise for the month of October, which is in an accumulation year. They call it Rocktober. It's always been up. So I think we're going to have a good month. Then I think it's going to drop a little. And then coming into, I'll expect a fairly decent sized drop coming in a couple months. And then it'll be a steady up after that, all the way through the Bitcoin halving and all the way into the peak. It'll be a steady gain.
So far, you've been 100% correct with your prediction. King Earl, what do you think? You guys can see right now, Bitcoin is ripping today. We're almost at 28,000. Ethereum is ripping. All the top cryptos are ripping. As soon as October hit, crypto started to rip. King Earl, I already know what you're going to say, but what do you think happens with Bitcoin and cryptos moving forward?
$30,000. into
All right.
October. $30,000. Not financial advice. Please do your own independent research. Past trends are not indicative of future gains. Um, you know, it's just one of those things that 90% of the market is green today. So we're looking pretty good for the start. There's a couple of things that might hit us, but I mean those really aren't going to impact us this month. So we're looking good for making some money this month. I mean that's what it's going to come down to. You're looking at a potential of 30% increase. I would say a 22% rise in Bitcoin is where I want to put my money. 22% rise in the market. There's been a couple of cryptos pumping this week already, but a lot of them is already up still, 3 to 7%, mainly due to the rise of Bitcoin. And then, I mean, Bitcoin up 3.7% so far right now for the day, and then for the week, we're up pretty good too. So 5.5% already. And I think the trend is going to continue, especially the more that we continue to grill on Gary Gensler. If we can pass some subpoenas or get a bill passed to get rid of him, then we're looking at major, astronomical numbers that might happen. So, it's all going to come down to the proof in the pudding, the strength of the U.S. dollar, the continuing rise of oil is going to continue to strive up the stock market here. But, if you wanted money into the market, you should already have it in there because things are about to get crazy and it's about to be a wild ride. And when you're not going to have any money due to a recession, the only people that's going to have money is institutions and corporates, and they're going to be putting their money in, and hopefully you already got yours in.
I got my Bitcoin, I got my Ethereum. My advice to everyone, and this is not financial advice, own at least one Bitcoin, at least one Ethereum. It protects you in the new digital world that we're clearly moving into, the fourth industrial revolution. This is all happening. Do your research, do your due diligence. And remember, everything we talk about is strictly for information and education purposes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us on the 19th episode of the Bull and Bear Show. I just want to mention that Brent did make a comment. He believes that they will assassinate, unfortunately, Mr. Trump because they are afraid that he is going to get back into power. Do you guys think there's any chance of that?
They wouldn't do it to Obama, and they placed him right into the center of where it could happen, and it didn't happen. Nothing's happening to Trump.
I hope so too, man. I really would like to see Trump back into power. It would be
Yes,
great
so would
to see
Putin.
him make America great again. I think a lot of people would like to see Trump back in power. Biden has been nothing short of, in my opinion, the worst president ever in the history of America. Trudeau has been nothing short of the worst prime minister in the history of Canada. We are on a major housing bubble thanks to Trudeau. We have the highest gas prices ever in Canadian history thanks to Trudeau. We've got running food prices. We've got people can't afford to pay for rent in Canada. People are living in their cars. People are living on the streets. People can't find places for their kids to sleep. This is thanks to Trudeau and his tyrannical government, who just gave a standing ovation to a neo-Nazi. This is what's happening in our government right now, and we're going to continue to talk about it here on the Bull and Bear Show. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today, guys. Any final words before we say goodbye, guys?
Buckle up, Buttercup. This next year is going to be a bumpy ride, and you better prepare for it.
Yeah.
How about you, Earl? Anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
Just watch the markets. If you're going to be investing in them, know when you're going to cash out. Right now, everything, even though it looks like it's green, is never too late, to get in. The stock market has a lot that it can still pump down potentially here. So even if you go down just a tad bit, 10, 20%, you could still rise up 60%, on a couple of the waves coming in throughout the next year. It's not the end of the year speech yet. So, I'll save that for another time, but, just know how to dump your assets as well as how to attain them.
I appreciate that, Earl. And Brent says, look at the national debt chart. US dollar compares to gold, silver, oil. There is no strength in the US dollar.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
strength in
well,
the U.S. dollar. I mean, what you got to look at if you're going to be comparing the U.S. dollar to something, look at the BlackRock liquidity. Put it onto a chart with the liquidity of BlackRock, and then look at the inflation numbers and the lack of GDP. We have to hit a recession to get this GDP up. We have to make everybody go bankrupt, all these crappy companies that provide nothing, provide absolutely nothing to the global world, provide nothing to humanity. We got to cut the funding on all this bull crap these Democrats keep spending money on, and then we have to create more growth and production across the globe. And I don't care how we do it, whether it's pumping for oil or what, but we have to figure out a way to break even the laws of physics to create more of something from nothing. And I mean, that's what we have to do to fight inflation.
Brent says, be prepared for October 4th National Alert System. I don't even know what that is. Do you guys know what that is?
Yeah, they're coming for. Nobody seems to know exactly what it's going to do, but for some reason, October 4th, they got every single phone in America is supposed to go off. I don't know about Canada. With all they're saying is that it's going to be an alert system, but it's going to be accompanied by sounds and vibrations, whatever that means.
So they pretty
That
much
does not
they
sound
put all this crap in our phones whenever COVID hit with the testing and your close contact proximity sensors with other people who might be infected. And so the sensors are already in there, and so is the alerts for your phone. And they're just going to pretty much continue to test them. And it's just going to be a test of the national system. I mean, we already have them for the Amber alert systems, and maybe they're actually going to start pushing out, like tornado sirens and stuff like that, where people actually have access to it on their phone rather than just onto a weather band radio. And, potentially, we could be looking at future bombing indicators for flyovers like we used to in World War II. But down in the South, we're not worried about it because we still have the bomb bunkers in place along the roadsides from World War II and from the Cold War. So we have safe places to go. Just saying.
There's a lot of conspiracy wrapped around the alert system that it's something completely new, and that the sounds and vibrations accompanied by it are going to trigger something either that was in the vaccine given, or it goes as far out there to where it's going to turn people into zombies when it goes off. I've heard a lot of different conspiracies.
Whoa.
Using
Brent is saying Brent is saying pinging phones.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, while we speak, guys, Bitcoin is really ripping.
3.8%.
So we're almost at 28,000. This is a great start to October, exactly like you gentlemen predicted, exactly like I predicted. So hopefully you guys own some Bitcoin. Hopefully you own some Ethereum and some of the top cryptos, because we're in for a wonderful ride here as we finish off 2023. But don't worry, we'll be here every week to talk to you about all the biggest breaking news on the Bull and Bear Show, episode number 19. Next week will be episode number 20. And I'm here with King Earl and Nash Cowboy. Gentlemen, have yourselves a great day. Thank you for joining me once again. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Take care, man.
See you guys. See everyone for watching.
Cheers.
We appreciate you guys. If you're not winning, you're probably not watching. We bring you the winners, news, breaking news, trending topics, the biggest news in stocks, the biggest news in sports, the biggest news in crypto, and we bring it to you every week, and we're out. Peace.